Amber sconces breathe honey-colored light across the vaulted nave of St. Helier Hall, coaxing gilt leaf on every cornice to glow as though the ceiling itself were spun from late afternoon sunshine. Music too soft to name yet too rich to ignore drifts from a string quartet hidden behind snow-white hydrangeas. Even the air tastes expensive. Champagne-laced tuberose mingles with the faint tang of polished oak, and somewhere deeper a note of sandalwood smolders like the afterthought of a distant hearth. Beneath crystal baubles and hand-blown chandeliers, 200 guests assemble on marble that mirrors their tuxedoed silhouettes, every step cushioned by the mellow hush of generational money. Evelyn Hart pauses a full stride inside the grand entry, letting the opulence settle on her shoulders like snowfall. She wears a dove-gray sheath dress cut from modest silk, no train, no embroidery, only a single line of pearl buttons at the nape of her neck. It is, she knows, understated to the point of invisibility beside the sequined gown swirling ahead of her, yet the fabric skims her frame with quiet assurance. Around her wrist, a slim ribbon of lavender tied in a simple bow, its tail tucked beneath the tiniest gift box, silver paper, cream wax seal. Inside rests a handwritten blessing and a seedling pressed between glass. Nothing costly, only meaningful. She draws one steadying breath, then moves toward the reception parlor. Conversation eddies when she passes. "Is that Evelyn?" A woman in rose gold chiffon stage whispers. "Didn't she arrive alone?" Another answers, eyes bright with speculative mirth. Evelyn offers neither acknowledgement nor apology. The murmur of strings thickens into a waltz as she approaches a registration desk, flanked by twin urns of blush peonies. An attendant offers a quill. She signs her name in ink, as calm as a lake at dawn, and carries on, heels hardly tapping. The ballroom proper unfurls like a scene from Imperial Theater. Domed skylights netted in organza, pillars wrapped in climbing orchids, waiters gliding with silver trays shimmering beneath the chandeliers. At the far end, a dais awaits the bridal party, chairs upholstered in ivory brocade and embroidered with the Fairley crest. There Lucinda Fairley, bride, hostess once Evelyn's inseparable confidant, poses for photographers, every white silk ruffle cascading like foam around her. Lucinda's laughter carries bright and brittle as her new circle of luminaries press close. Her gaze skims the crowd with acquisitive glee until it collides hard with Evelyn's. A single heartbeat passes. Lucinda's painted smile widens by a hair, exposing teeth that gleam too sharp in candlelight. She tilts her head fractionally toward a cluster of bridesmaids lacquered in emerald charmeuse. A whisper ripple follows, passing from powdered lips to jeweled ears until the entire semicircle flicks its eyes toward Evelyn. The verdict delivered by those glances is clear. Uninvited relic, dressed like austerity itself, daring to stain a pageant of curated grandeur. Evelyn's pulse remains level. She crosses to the gift table, nestling her small offering among beribboned parcels, stacked like confectionery towers. A staffer in livery starts to remove her box, too plain. Clearly misplaced, but she touches his sleeve gently. "It belongs," she assures in a voice velvet soft, yet unmistakable. The staffer flushes, nods, and leaves her gift precisely where it rests. She turns and steps almost directly into the path of Gregory Vale hedge fund heir, boutonniere sparkling like frost against his lapel. "Evelyn Hart," he greets, voice pitched for an audience. "Didn't expect to find you here. Still tutoring inner-city prodigies, are we?" "Still diversifying your father's portfolio into farmland water rights," she replies, tone mild enough to sting. Gregory's perfect jaw stiffens. A woman clutches his elbow. Her laughter leaks out like perfume from a cracked bottle. The first cut delivered. Evelyn slips toward an alcove, where caterers supply flutes of Grand Cuvée, 98. She chooses water instead, appreciating how the crystal stem refracts the chandelier glow into prisms on her palm. Around her, fragments of conversation float, share price forecasts, villa renovations, yacht regatta gossip. Every so often someone remarks on the quaint, gray dress, the brave choice to arrive without an escort. Each remark lands feather-soft, yet laden with iron. Lucinda's mother, Contessa Marcella Fairley Baccarat, approaches in layers of mauve tulle. "Evelyn," she purrs, "how marvelous that you could attend. Such loyalty." She sips. "Lucinda was saying only yesterday How certain friendships outgrow their seasons. I find true seasons return, Evelyn answers, gaze steady. Indeed. But one must dress for the climate, don't you think? The Contessa's eyes travel Evelyn's ensemble, lingering on the lavender ribbon as though it were a wound. She doesn't wait for a reply. With a rustle of couture, she drifts off, leaving silence as potent as any scream. Strings slide into a minor key. A waiter steps backward, colliding accidentally with a bronze candelabrum. A slosh of mulled wine arcs bursts across Evelyn's bodice in burgundy blotches. Gasps erupt. The waiter blanches. Madam, I'm so terribly— It will wash, Evelyn assures. But the damage is visible. Crimson spreads along silk like bruised petals. A trio of bridesmaids converge. How unfortunate, coos Annabelle and Emerald. Such delicate fabric. Perhaps spare gowns are in the service wing, ventures Brawny, voice dripping sugar. Though I doubt they carry. Understated. Snickers follow. Evelyn lifts her chin. A stain never lingers where character endures. The words hover, cool and sure, slicing through their mock sympathy. Yet she feels the sticky chill as wine seeps toward her waist. Time drifts forward on weaponized pleasantries. Snide mockery hides behind lacquered smiles, suggestions that Evelyn take a moment to freshen up, offers of shawls to conceal unpredictability. Each kindness twists like a knife. Within an hour, the relentless pics escalate. Lucinda herself weaves through guests, until she stands before Evelyn, bouquet in hand for photographs. Darling Evie, Lucinda sings, voice bell clear. You made it after all. How brave. Close now. She lowers her tone. Don't linger near the dais. We wouldn't want blotches in the pictures. Evelyn meets the bride's eyes, sees old friendship drown beneath mirrored vanity. Joy suits you, Lucy. Wear it well. Then she steps aside. The bridal march rehearsal begins. Groomsmen herd attendees toward the conservatory, where vows will be renewed for society witnesses. Evelyn follows but remains at fringe. Here, under a lattice of climbing roses, rows of chivalry chairs gleam gold. She sits alone in the back. Hushed rumors crackle like sparklers. Speculation that Evelyn once lent Lucinda seed money for a fashion startup. Rumors that Lucinda sold it and never reimbursed. Others laugh, surely a myth. Lucinda would never. The ceremony advances in textbook splendor. Lucinda and her groom, Adrian Montclair, exchange Baroque vows heavy with estate names and ancestral obligations. When the officiant pronounces them, applause crashes. Petals drift from balconies, violins swell. During the recessional, Lucinda pauses midway down the aisle. She turns. Bouquets traditionally toss at departure, but spectacle demands novelty. With theatrical flourish, she raises her cluster of white roses, each bud haloed in faint shimmer. The crowd hushed. Lucinda's arm arcs, releasing the bouquet not over her shoulder, but straight direct trajectory toward the back row, where Evelyn sits. Time narrows. Evelyn stands without haste, measures the spinning bouquet, and lifts her hands. It lands as though drawn to her palms. Glitter detonates from hidden petals, sparkling cascade aiming to coat her face. Yet she tilts her head, lets the shimmer fall harmlessly past, and closes her fingers around the stems. For a suspended breath, the entire conservatory freezes, bride rigid, guests stunned by the precision of her aim and Evelyn's effortless catch. Evelyn smooths one stray fleck of gold from her lashes. Silence thrums. Then a soft, quivering laugh breaks from the left. Not mockery, but astonishment. From the right aisle, an elderly woman in sable velvet rises. Her cane clicks once on marble. This is Grand Dame Genevieve Montclair, Adrian's formidable grandmother, patron of half the city's orphanages, guardian of the family trust rumored to eclipse 9 figures. She approaches Evelyn with deliberate steps. Whispers fracture the air. That ring. Not possible. She can't. Genevieve removes a ring from her own right hand. Platinum filigree, sapphire flanked by pave diamonds. Composure, she says, voice like silk drawn across steel. Belongs to those who understand respect. She slides the ring onto Evelyn's finger. Gasps, ripple. I name Miss Hart primary heir to the Montclair Charitable Trust. Effective immediately. A collective inhalation seems to drain the conservatory of oxygen. Lucinda's knees wobble. Adrian catches her arm, eyes wide. Evelyn looks into Genevieve's face. Kindness there, and something like triumph. Madam, you earned it years ago, the matriarch murmurs. Let society catch up. She turns, addresses the congregation. Proceed to supper. Miss Hart shall escort me. But movement erupts near the front. Contessa Marcella steps forward, voice pitched to Carrie. This is a wedding, not a board meeting. We shouldn't upend tradition on whim. Her glare poisons the fray. Genevieve's eyes, iceberg calm, meet the Contessa's. Tradition thrives on integrity. Shall we discuss integrity aloud? The Contessa stills, with that unspoken challenge hanging. Genevieve offers Evelyn her arm. Evelyn rests the bridal bouquet, now shorn of its vindictive sparkle, into a passing page's hands. As she threads her arm through the matriarchs, murmurs swell. Speculation colliding with amazement. They exit into the grand foyer, where footmen await instructions. Genevieve pauses beneath a fresco of Persephone returning to spring. She faces Evelyn fully. Lucinda repaid your past kindness with malice, she says. I despise ingratitude, she lifts a brow. Tell me, child, are you prepared for what follows? I arrived prepared for nothing, Evelyn replies softly, which means I can carry anything. The older woman smiles, faint and fierce. Then follow me. Doors at the far end swing wide, revealing the Montclair Estate's winter garden, a glass house blushing with candlelight and tiered fountains. Inside, supper has been laid atop tables mirrored like lakes. The moment Genevieve and Evelyn cross the threshold, musicians hush, mid-note forks halt. Conversations skid into silence. Lucinda and Adrian stand beside the sweetheart table, their earlier glow now brittle porcelain. Lucinda breaks first. Grandmother, you're making a scene. The scene was already staged, Genevieve answers, dissecting her with glance alone. Lucinda's cheeks blotch. She gestures toward Evelyn's stained dress. She can't dine dressed like that. Evelyn opens her mouth, but Genevieve's hand lifts. If spilled wine offends you, remove the glasses. Servers flinch. Adrian clears his throat, attempting diplomacy. Grandmother, perhaps we should postpone discussions until the trust document activates tonight, Genevieve cuts. Your bride's little tableau provided the final testament of character required. I witnessed enough. She fixes the company with hawk brightness. Ladies and gentlemen, you may remain to dine or depart if your palates cannot stomach justice. Shock slams the air. Several investors exchange flurried looks. One, a silver-templed publisher, steps toward Genevieve, hand extended. Dame Genevieve, if I may, the foundation's endowment remains intact, she affirms. But oversight changes. Miss Hart possesses the virtue to safeguard it. She turns slightly, inviting Evelyn's voice into the circle. For the first time all evening, Evelyn speaks to the room. I'm humbled, she says, tone clear as water over slate. My only wish is to honor the Montclair legacy by ensuring opportunity flows outward, not merely upward. A murmur of approval arises from corners, unexpected. Yet not all heads bow. Gregory Vale strides forward, brow knotted. This is absurd, he proclaims. An ex-school teacher controlling assets of that magnitude. Investors will revolt. Around him allies nod. People who earlier mocked Evelyn now frightened by potential shift of power. Genevieve's reply is silk wrapped around a blade. Real investors study metrics, beyond pedigree. If you require persuasion, my attorneys will forward quarterly reports demonstrating Miss Hart's return on social capital, a metric your funds woefully ignore. Gregory flushes crimson. From behind, a security officer approaches, whispers to Genevieve. She listens, gaze sharpening. Her eyes flick to a corner where Marcella and Lucinda converse in hurried hisses. Assort Contessa fairly to the library, Genevieve orders. Gasps spark again. Two guards step forward. Marcella recoils. On what authority? She sputters. On mine, Genevieve answers. And soon on the articles of malfeasance you signed when leveraging your daughter's startup against my grandson's holdings. The Contessa's perfume-scented poise fractures. Lucinda stares, mouth parted but silent, as her mother is gently yet firmly guided away. Evelyn feels the ballroom tilt, the axis of power sliding beneath satin shoes. Heart steady, she stands while world reorients around her. but her dress clings damp and cold. The chill seeps toward bone. Genevieve notices, signals to a distant maid, who vanishes down a hallway. Moments later, the maid returns bearing a gown of midnight silk, a simple kimono cut, waist cinched with silver thread. "From my personal collection," Genevieve says. "Change in my antechamber. Rejoin us when ready." Evelyn hesitates, but the maid guides her through a side corridor lined with portraits. They enter a small powder room glowing with sconces. Behind the closed door, Evelyn breathes for the first time in what feels like hours. She unbuttons the stained dress, folds it carefully despite the ruin. The midnight gown slips over her skin, cool and weightless. It whispers across marble with confidence of its own. She studies her reflection, lavender ribbon, now adorning her hair, sapphire ring, catching candle fire. The woman staring back appears both older and unburdened. She returns to the winter garden. Conversation dims again, this time thick with admiration. Even those who earlier sneered cannot deny the elegance with which she moves, the quiet command in her eyes. She nears Genevieve, who sits at the head of the long table. A seat at her right stands empty. Evelyn takes it. A waiter pours fresh wine. Its fragrance curls upward. Dark fruit, promise. Evelyn's hand steadies the stem, but she doesn't sip. Across the table, Lucinda sits frozen, bouquetless hands twisting napkin lace. Glitter remains on her cheek, a rogue spark beneath chandelier light. She speaks at last, voice small. "Avi, please." Evelyn meets her gaze, sees the tremor, the dawning comprehension of consequences. For a moment, old memories flutter. Nights spent drafting business plans over takeout. Laughter shared under streetlights. But cruelty, once unleashed, seldom retreats without cost. She inhales, ready to respond. And the double doors at the far end thunder open. A man strides through, coat cut from ink-black wool, shoulders so still the silk cascade of his tie barely sways. His presence drags every gaze like iron filings to lodestone. Whispers ignite. "Is that impossible? He's in Jakarta." Came himself? The newcomer removes gloves with deliberate precision, revealing hands marked by faint scars, proof of stories whispered in boardrooms. This is Calder Byrne, shipping magnate, silent patron of half the city's philanthropies, rumored net worth approaching $2 billion. More significantly, he is Evelyn's once-in-shadow partner, the benefactor whose identity remained concealed even from her pitying detractors. He surveys the room, assessing, until his eyes land upon Evelyn. Something unspoken passes. He nods once. The world inhales collectively. Calder's voice, when it comes, is riverstone rolled smooth by force of water. "My apologies for arriving late, weather over the channel misbehaved." He offers the faintest smile. "I trust the festivities waited." Lucinda half stands, gown rustling like wings caught mid-burst. "Mr. Byrne, she falters under his gaze. Calder removes a small velvet case from his inner pocket, sets it before Evelyn. "As agreed," he says. She lifts the lid. Inside lies an antique fountain pen of rose gold, nib engraved with a crest matching Genevieve's sapphire ring. Calder addresses Genevieve. "Our foundation merger papers are ready." Miss Hart holds power of signature. Around them jaws drop. Investors who minutes prior doubted now scramble to recalibrate. Lucinda sinks back, skin near porcelain. Adrian whispers but cannot break her trance. Calder offers Evelyn his hand. "Shall we discuss terms in a quieter room?" Evelyn rises. Her world steadies around the fulcrum of this moment. Humiliation transformed into authority. Yet she feels no triumph, only calm acceptance. She faces Lucinda, holds her eyes. "Perhaps," she says softly, "this is the climate you dressed for." Lucinda's lips tremble. Whatever retort she seeks drowns under the hush. Evelyn turns to Calder. Together they step toward the side corridor, leaving murmurs swirling like eddies around a departing ship. Calder leads Evelyn through a paneled passageway where muted sconces flicker in scalloped mirrors, their reflections blooming like soft lanterns behind passing shoulders. The hush here is thick enough to touch. Only the faint throb of a distant cello drifts under the polished doors. Evelyn's palm stays light on Calder's offered arm, yet the heat within her chest quickens. Her world, spun on a single evening's axis, steadies with every measured stride. They enter a secluded library, whose walls rise 2 stories, lacquered mahogany alive with dusky varnish. A fire crackles in a low hearth of black marble veined in gold. The scent is cedar and citrus oil, bright against the room's mellow hush. Genevieve stands at a central escritoire, parchment laid in perfect alignment beside a silver inkstand. 2 ivory-handled pens wait like ceremonial blades. Evelyn registers the soft give of the Turkish carpet beneath her shoes, the hush of unseen servants drawing the doors closed behind them, and the sudden sense that the night pivots yet again, this time in private, away from watchful eyes. She is keenly aware of the sapphire ring on her finger, the midnight silk whispering across her ankles, and Calder's presence at her side, steady, unforced, yet coiled with potential. Genevieve gestures. "Miss Hart, the consolidation papers. Read only if you must. I imagine you know your own governance clauses by heart." She smiles, a glint of wry pride in her gaze. Evelyn skims the parchment. It formalizes oversight of the Montclair Charitable Trust and merges it with the Bern Maritime Endowment, an alliance of educational grants, hospital funds, and environmental initiatives stretching across 4 continents. The last signature line bears her name, printed already beneath the blank. She lifts her eyes. "I understand." Calder speaks, voice a low gravitas. "Your ideals built half these provisions. Tonight we simply anchor the vessel under your command." She dips the pen, signs. Ink flows midnight blue, drying almost instantly in the warmth. Genevieve adds her looping hand beside Evelyn's, then Calder, a final flourish, and the documents are slid into an embossed folio, sealed with Montclair wax. Genevieve exhales, as though releasing an era. "Now," she murmurs, "justice has paperwork." A discreet knock precedes the head of security. "Dame Genevieve?" He carries a ledger. "Contessa Fairley requests counsel representation before departure." "Granted," Genevieve replies. "And see to her transport. No theatrics." He nods and retreats. Evelyn's pulse steadies. The public reckoning, beat for beat, continues beyond these walls. Yet she senses unfinished echoes. "Lucinda?" she asks quietly. Genevieve tilts her head, escorted to her chambers. Whether she remains tomorrow depends on her contrition tonight. She studies Evelyn. "Do you intend to meet her?" Evelyn considers. Hurt still flares like an ember. But compassion, scarred yet living, presses outward. Eventually, she says, "But not before the storm calms." Calder steps closer, searching her expression. "You stood silent against cruelty, until silence became power. Few manage such poise." "It was not silence," she answers. "It was choosing the moment to speak." He inclines his head, and the compliment needs no further voice. Genevieve pours a splash of cognac into 3 cut glass tumblers. To choosing, the clink, sip, savor. A bell chimes in the corridor. Supper's second course. Genevieve waves them onward. "Go up here." Power withheld too long breeds rumor. Displayed calmly breeds respect. They leave the library. As they glide back down the passage, Evelyn's thoughts brush the night's earlier jagged embarrassments, the wine stain now abandoned like a shed husk, the glitter grenade disguised as roses. Each humiliation feels distant, its sting already dissolving beneath something steadier. Re-entering the winter garden, they find conversation subdued. Clusters of guests hover like constellations rearranged. Investors, editors, and heirs all pivot to watch Calder and Evelyn cross the threshold. Musicians adjust. The cello shifts to a ruminative adagio, threads of dusk-rich melody sliding between crystal towers of dessert wine. At their approach, chairs scrape in reflexive respect. Evelyn senses the new rift in the social fabric. Where once she was invisible, now she is gravitational. She takes her seat beside Genevieve. Calder opposite, and murmured dialogue resumes. A cautious tenor as though every sentence might join the historical record. Gregory Vale rises, champagne in hand. "Miss Hart," he begins, voice schooled. "Permit me to extend apologies for earlier misunderstandings." His sentence trails into a half-bow. Evelyn answers evenly. "Misunderstandings often clear with context, Mr. Vale." She lifts no glass, yet her civility leaves him disarmed. He sits, cheeks blotched. Across the table, a publisher leans to whisper, "Print rights for her biography will fetch a fortune." His companion hushes him, glancing at Evelyn's still posture. Lucinda finally appears in the doorway. Her eyes are rimmed red, cheeks scrubbed raw of glitter. Yet she stands with the uncertain pride of someone unaccustomed to weakness. She approaches the sweetheart table, now hostless, and pauses. Adrian trails behind, torn between loyalty and late-found fear. Genevieve speaks first, her tone that of a marble judge. Lucinda fairly Montclair. Silence falls in layers. You owe Miss Hart words that cannot be spent like coin. Begin. The bride's voice arrives brittle. Evelyn, she clasps her hands. I was cruel, envious. Tears well. Your grace shamed me more than retaliation ever could. Evelyn perceives, within herself, both ache and release. She meets Lucinda's eyes. Envy thrives where gratitude falters. You have much to be grateful for it, even now. Lucinda swallows. I wish I'd understood sooner. Will you accept apology and perhaps, in time, forgiveness? The room seems to tilt, awaiting Evelyn's judgment. She inhales the garden's moist citrus blossom, lets it fill her. Apology granted, she says at last. Forgiveness grows in its own season. Lucinda nods, tears slipping. Genevieve indicates a chair far down the table. No exile, yet no throne. Lucinda moves to it, a lesson molded into each step. Public reckoning complete. Servants unveil the final course. Slivers of vanilla torte gilded with spun sugar, accompanied by espresso laced with orange zest. Conversation loosens. The cello shifts into lilting nocturne. Humane warmth creeps back into faces once frozen by shock. Calder leans, voice soft for Evelyn alone. There is one tradition yet untouched. Dan. Within her chest something lifts. I feared the night too frayed. Moments mend with music. He rises, extends a hand. Murmurs quicken. Under the vaulted glass, the quartet segues into a slow waltz. Glissando of violins, shimmering like night surf under moon silver. Evelyn places her fingers in Calder's palm. His hand settles at her waist, with reassuring distance. They step onto a terrace where mosaic stone reflects the star-punctured sky. Wind cools the remaining heat of the day, carrying faint scent of jasmine and the hush of distant tides. Evelyn moves in unhurried circles, her gown circling like ink and water. Calder's lead is practiced but gentle. Each pivot carves away residue of earlier scorn until only the rhythm remains. Inside, others join. Genevieve sways with a retired ambassador. Even Gregory Vale, chastened, offers his arm to a dowager countess. The dance floor transforms humiliation's soil into the first green shoots of a different social landscape. At song's end, Calder bows. Evelyn, he murmurs, the Board of Governors convenes in 10 days. Will you take the chair opposite mine? She smiles, serene. I will take the chair beside yours. He accepts the correction with a spark of something brighter than admiration. Guests drift to candlelit alcoves for cordial and quiet speculation. Evelyn walks the garden's perimeter alone for a moment, needing breath. Gravel crunches under soft soles. Overhead, lanterns swing like low stars. Water tinkles through a marble rill. Her thoughts travel backward 1 hour, then 5 years back to nights spent tutoring children in borrowed classrooms, back to Lucinda scribbling design sketches over coffee she never paid for, back to the day a discreet envelope arrived bearing Calder's anonymous investment in her scholarship fund. She reaches the edge of a lily pond where floating candles flicker on mirrored surfaces. Their reflections remind her of the wine splatter once marring her silk. Memory shivers, then stills. Shame composts into strength when tended by grace. Behind her, footsteps approach. Lucinda's. Evie, she says softly. Evelyn turns. Lucinda holds out a small card, edges shaking. The trust lawyers found this while gathering documents. It's your original promissory note, the one I never repaid. She bites her lip. I'm burning it tonight. Evelyn takes the card, examines her own handwriting, promising funds and friendship. She slips it into her pocket. Keep it, she says. A reminder not of debt, but of beginnings. Lucinda's tears brim anew. She nods, then departs silently. The quartet launches a livelier tune. Calder strides across grass dew-lit. Save me another dance, or you'll fuel gossip, he teases. Tattle is insatiable regardless. Still, she places her hand in his, and they return to the terrace where guests form small applauding clusters. When music pauses, Genevieve signals for attention. Servers snuff a line of tall tapers until only the hearth glow and moonlight remain. pooling silver on every upturned face. The matriarch lifts a crystal goblet, others mirror. To Evelyn Hart she proclaimed, "May dignity guide fortune and fortune empower dignity." Glasses chime, a crystalline chorus. Evelyn raises her own goblet of water, the liquid catching moonbeams. And to those who teach us by kindness or by cruelty, how to wield our worth. She drinks, so do they. Later, under a pergola of wisteria, Calder locates Evelyn with a velvet-lined case. "Forgotten in my coat pocket," he says. Inside glitters a thin torque of white gold, minimalist, profound. No symbolism, only admiration. She brushes the metal's cool curve. "I accept, on one condition, that its first public appearance fund a children's conservatory." His grin is quiet thunder. "Consider it endowed by dawn." Midnight tolls from distant cathedral bells. One by one, guests drift away, carriages crunching along gravel, laughter fading into spring night. Staff douse lanterns, leaving only braziers glowing like low suns in the dark. At last, beneath a canopy of raw starlight, Evelyn stands alone in the garden's heart. Petals, real ones this time, float across the reflecting pool, unsullied by glitter or spite. She inhales cool air tinged with distant sea salt and cedar, imprints it on memory as the scent of reclamation. Behind her, Calder's voice. "Ready for the world beyond this gate?" She turns, sees him in silhouette, framed by torchlight. More than ever. Side by side, they walk the promenade toward the manor. Above the main entrance, a frieze depicts Persephone culminating her return, a figure ascending with blossom in hand. Evelyn's gaze lifts to it, recognizing herself not in the captivity, but in the ascent. At the threshold, Calder stops, letting the hush settle. His whisper is almost lost to wind. "You changed everything tonight without raising your voice." She meets his eyes. Noise is common. Resonance endures. He nods, and they step inside. The celebration that follows is smaller. Staff, string quartet, a handful of truest allies sharing brandy around embers. Candlelight paints everyone gold. There are no cameras, only human awe turning memory into legend. Under that modest glow, Genevieve insists on a final waltz performed by Evelyn and Calder alone. Strings comply, floors gleam. As they whirl, the midnight silk arcs like a raven's wing, and Evelyn feels the universe narrow to heartbeat and bowstroke. Music hushes, leaving one soft chord to fade into woodgrain. Evelyn's final thought, before dawn, claims the sky as simple, steady, entire. Grace is the quiet inheritance no thief can touch. True worth wears silence, like a crown.